When the cream-colored envelope was lying on my desk in Hamburg, I was only thinking about some kind of anniversary celebration. Nothing more, just business and polite paper. At the front was my name, Johanna Kramer, in clean gold lettering, and below it was this almost sweet handwriting of Leonie Hartmann, our new assistant. Leonie had only been in the company for 4 months, sniffy, friendly to the top, sharp to the bottom. Such a woman who never opens doors, just uses. I tore open the envelope, took a sip of cold coffee, and then I read the first line twice, because my head did not want to accept it. We are looking forward to celebrating our wedding at Lake Tegernsee with you. Leonie Hartmann and Dr. Rolf Vogt, director of the Kramer Group, stood there. Rolf Vogt has been my husband for 26 years, father of my daughter Miriam, and the man who actually pours apple juice for my grandchildren every Sunday. I was sitting very still. I heard the Hamburg rain beating against the windows outside, and I didn't get hot, but strangely calm, almost dangerously quiet. When I get angry, I don't scream. I'm doing the math. And that's exactly what I did, even before my Franzbrötchen on the plate fell apart. Leonie could not know that Rolf was my husband because I had kept my family name and our marriage was never exhibited at the company. That had been my decision at that time after the death of my father because I didn't want a gossip company, but clear lines between property and operational. I held the majority. Rolf ran the day-to-day business, and our family stayed out of the internal self-presentation, especially for the protection of our daughter and grandchildren. In the last few months, Rolf had been in Munich a lot, allegedly because of a new major customer, allegedly because of restructuring, allegedly because of all sorts of things. Moreover, he had asked me 3 times to sign a harmless change in our family holding. He had only said formalities, nothing dramatic, honey. I hadn't signed because the knives are usually stuck in formalities, especially when men suddenly speak softly and their eyes remain hard. Sir, I didn't call him right away that morning. No, I put my glasses on first and read the invitation again. Leonie had even enclosed a small note, handwritten, almost touching. She very much hopes that I will be there as a long-standing foundation woman of the family. Long-time foundation woman, you had to imagine that. I was the owner, the woman whose legacy this company still held German at all. At first I did not call Rolf, but our notary Henning Clausen in Eppendorf, a quiet man with a memory like a safe. Mr. Clausen confirmed to me in less than a minute that my marriage with Rolf was unchanged and that no divorce petition was ever filed. Then I asked something that he only answered with a long silence, if someone had requested documents about my family assets in the last few weeks. He said yes. Rolf had had drafts examined by a Munich law firm. The marriage contract, the list of assets, the succession plan, and suddenly the coffee tasted bitter to me. My grandchildren Frida and Oscar are permanent beneficiaries of the family foundation. No one touches it as long as I breathe, and everyone knows that. So whoever screwed on my fortune screwed directly on the future of my grandchildren. And then all the rest of politeness stops for me. At noon I did not go home, but to the company canteen. She sat me down with pea soup and black bread at a table near the window. Leonie stood there with 2 controllers and laughed that clean laugh that never had warmth, just intention, and something pretty cheap. I didn't hear my name, but I heard family stuff. Old burdens, old rules, and then we don't need the set of children's rooms later anyway. I didn't even lift the spoon any further. I put it down and knew that the matter was already bigger. In the evening, Rolf came to Blankenese, polished as always, still smelling of an expensive hotel coat, and kissed me almost too carefully. I put the invitation between us on the dining table, right next to the red cabbage from the day before, and the bowl of cucumber salad. He saw the envelope, turned pale around the nose, and then tried to turn that tired smile with which men turn truth into bureaucracy. Johanna, this is complicated, he said, and I immediately thought. No, it's just the cleaning up that's complicated. Betrayal is usually frighteningly easy. He claimed that Leonie was just a business proximity. A lot of talk, a misunderstanding, a few wrong assumptions that are out of control. I asked him if misunderstandings now also buy wedding rings, book Siebsale, and have invitations printed. And at last, he was silent. Then the truth came piecemeal, like dirty thawing water. Leonie believed that he had long been separated, soon divorced, and the wedding was a safe rest. Rest for what? I asked. and he did not answer immediately, but looked at the photo of our grandchildren on the sideboard. He wanted to change the holding company so that when he left, decision-making rights would not be missing directly to Miriam and later to the children. He called it more professional, more modern, more international. I called it what it was, a handle on someone else's bags with a family face. When I got up, he probably thought I was going to cry, but I just went to the study and got the foundation key from the safe. "If you don't resign in writing by tomorrow morning," I said, "I'll personally go to your little wedding and bring my own documents with me." He said my name in that cautionary tone he used to use on the board when he wanted to intimidate people, but I stopped. "You are confusing my patience with fainting," I said, and that's when I knew that our marriage was really over. I hardly slept at night, not out of pain, more out of clarity. This cold clarity that women will have to learn at some point. At 6 o'clock, I was sitting in the conservatory, writing emails to our chairman of the supervisory board, to compliance, and to 2 old advisory boards. I attached documents, the structure of the shareholding, Rolf's requests, the draft contracts from Munich, a polite sentence that still sounded like a hammer. By 9 o'clock, I had scheduled an extraordinary meeting, digitally even before the wedding ceremony, while Hamburg was slowly crawling out of the drizzle. After that, I called Miriam, my daughter, and explained everything to her without velvet gloves, because grown-up children deserve truth, not pretty lies. She did not cry, she cursed first, then asked about Frieder and Oscar. And that's exactly why I love this girl so much. I told her the kids are staying with me today. There are rice pudding, cartoon, and no adults with bad decisions in your area. Then I put on the dark blue woolen coat that my father liked, took the original certificate of our marriage, and got on the ICI. On the way to Munich, it was already snowing lightly over Bavaria, and I was sitting there with a leather case full of facts. Leonie had organized a reception at the hotel for the evening before, right on Lake Tegernsee with sparkling wine, snacks, and a lot of mirror glass. When I arrived, she immediately recognized me, even beamed, and this innocence in her face almost made things worse. "Mrs. Kramer, how nice that you are here," she said. "You have always been so important to Mr. Vogt in family matters." I smiled back and thought, "Yes, honey, more important than you will realize tonight, and probably more expensive than you can love." She led me to a table at the very back next to 2 retired area managers and a cousin from somewhere that no one could stand. In front of me stood sabling on potato salad, but I ate almost nothing. I just listened and collected every loose word. Leonie told loudly enough for half the hall how she wanted to modernize the villa in Blankenese soon. Brighter, cleaner, less children's stuff. Then I reached for my water glass very slowly, because I felt something very old and very German rising up in me. A lot of things are being rebuilt, I thought. Kitchens, companies, marriages, but you don't touch the grandchildren's rooms. Later, Rolf joined the guests in a dark suit. Snobbered like a man who believes that charm is a substitute currency. He rented my gaze, which was almost funny, because of all the people in the room. I knew his weaknesses most accurately. After dessert, Leonie knocked on the glass and announced a small round with personal words before the registry office starts tomorrow. She talked about the future, trust, second chance, building up together, and how Rolf would finally give her a real home. At home, the cousin mumbled next to me, "Oh dear time," and I had to control myself not to get up there already. Then Leonie asked me to come forward, of all people, because Mrs. Kramer had been part of the history of the house for so long. I took my glass, went forward, heard the tinkling of the cutlery, fell silent, and suddenly even the room was very honest. "Leonie," I said, "the invitation was wonderful, especially the part where you want to marry my own husband. There is silence, and there is silence after a sentence that pushes an entire hall into the abyss at the same time." Rolf took a step forward. "Johanna said please, but this request came to me about 20 years too late." I pulled the marriage certificate from the pencil case, then the current confirmation from the notary, and put both on the gift table. "Married for 26 years, no divorce, no declaration of separation, no free groom," I said. Each word slowly, so that no one could sell excuses later. Leonie first looked at me, then Rolf, then at me again, and her face lost all pretty color within seconds. She whispered that he said I was just a foundation administrator. Almost family, but not his wife. Never his wife. Almost family, I repeated, and suddenly half the room had to lower its gaze, because lying in company always sounds cheaper. I didn't tell them everything, just enough. The holding change, the draft contracts, the planned shift of rights away from my grandchildren. Then I looked at Leonie directly and said, anyone who calls children's rooms a legacy won't even get house keys from me. Rolf wanted to interrupt me, but at that moment his phone was vibrating and I already knew what had come there. The extraordinary meeting was over, his access was blocked, his release was decided, on duty immediately, socially, to be honest, also immediately. He stared at the display as if it had betrayed him. He had long since managed to do this all by himself. Leon took a step back, not dignified, more like someone who realizes that her whole ascent was built of cardboard. She asked him if at least something about his story was true, and he did not answer. Of course, he did not answer. Then I took my coat from the chair and said quite calmly, one morning not a director will go to the registry office, but a man to the lawyer. And if anyone is wondering who will decide on the house, foundation and company in the future, I'll stay until Frieda and Oscar are ready. The retired gentleman in the back nodded so violently that I almost had to laugh, and even the unfriendly cousin suddenly seemed useful. I left the room without haste. Outside, the air smelled of snow and lake, and my heart beat cleaner. At the hotel, Miriam called. I put it on speaker so Rolf could hear it too, if he was still around. She just asked if the children's rooms would stay, and I said, yes, even the painted walls will stay, every single cloud. The next Monday I signed not a destruction, but a new statute, waterproof. Of course, with even stronger protection for my grandchildren. Rolf got an apartment in Bogenhausen and a lot of time to think. Leonie got the truth for free and publicly. I got something better than revenge, order, and honestly, order feels a lot more luxurious than drama at my age. Frieda and Oscar are sitting with me again on Sundays in Blanany's, eating semolina porridge with cinnamon, and no one is talking about this wedding. Only sometimes Frieda asks why Grandpa lives somewhere else now, and I say because adults also lose when they get greedy. That's maybe the whole moral, and you can overlook a smart woman, but never rise above her inheritance with impunity. Une dieu.